Hello everybody, this is JD again. Remember, I'm running for president. I'm going to touch on a subject that is dear to all our hearts. Now, mind you, what I'm talking about now is not fact. It's not, I don't have all this documentation. It's just my personal opinion. My personal feelings. Okay? It doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean that, hey, this is what's going on. But I have some questions. And it all deals with taxes. A government, one responsibility is to raise the money it needs to function. And I agree, governments have to raise the money they need to function. I agree, governments have to tax the people to raise their money. But there's a problem. Now, I agree our government needs to raise money for education. I agree our government needs to raise money for Social Security, welfare, to build roads, to build schools, to run the programs that we have in this country. I will agree 100% our government needs to raise that money. I kind of sort of agree that our government can also raise money to give away to the world. Though I think that first and foremost they should look upon themselves and the American people. They have to start realizing the American people are poor too. We have poor people in this country, believe it or not. Using the excuse, well, our poor people are richer than a lot of better off people in other countries is not the answer. Okay? But needless to say, our government needs to raise taxes. But I have a problem. We, I feel, are way overtaxed. And if I'm elected president by you people, I'm going to ask Congress to explain this to me. How could this happen? You see, several years ago, Bush ran into Congress and the Senate and said, hey, we need to go to Iraq, blah, 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 reasons here, blah, blah, reasons here, blah, blah, reasons there. And our Congress said, well, those sound like good reasons. Whether or not they're true, they really didn't care, but we'll go with that, okay. And the Senate said, all right, we'll pass that too. There was a few people that objected to it and said, no, 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 we don't do that, but they all did. And off we marched to war. No problem there, except one thing. They didn't have to ask themselves one question. We're going to get the money for the war. How are we going to do it? How are we going to pay for the war? They didn't, because we already had the money. Well, if our government already had the money, then we're overtaxed. They should not have had the money. They should have had to say, hey, we got to raise the money to do this. Then they would have had to look at us and said, hey, we got to go to war with Iraq and we're going to have to raise your taxes. Would they have done it? If they had to go to the American people and say, we have to increase your taxes to go to war with Iraq because of this, would they have done it? Are we in Iraq because Bush lied, or are we in Iraq because we, the American people, are overtaxed? If they didn't have the money to supply the troops, supply the weapons, pay for everything, would they have done it? And then the question is, how come the money was there? If the money is there, then we are overtaxed. We're paying too much in taxes. So basically, this is what I want our Congress and Senate to explain. Why they didn't have to come to us and say, we got to raise your taxes. We have to raise your tax or we're going to war. And explain that. Because if you had to raise the money, would you have gone to war? Or would our Congress have said, wait a minute, let's think about this, and hesitated long enough to see the folly in it and say, well, we don't really need to go to war with Iraq. We have enough problems fighting our war with Afghanistan. So basically, that's what I'm asking. And I want Congress to explain why they didn't have to. Basically, come to the American people and say we needed to raise taxes so we can go to war. I believe that the overtaxing of American people is one reason why our government has gone so array. They don't have to come to us when they need to do something. They plain and simply just go and do it. And because of that, it turns out we, the American people, are servants to the government instead of the government being servants to the American people. Remember, the purpose of a government is to serve its people, not the people to serve the government. And by collecting too much in taxes, too much money from the people, you no longer see where you need to go to get the approval. Remember, you congressmen represent the individuals. You senators represent the state. Are we so overtaxed you don't need to listen to us? It seems to be the only time you hear the American people is when you need our vote. And if we weren't overtaxed and you'd have to come to us more often, you might then just hear us. I'm beginning seriously believing that the United States is being overtaxed by our Congress so that they do not have to listen to the American people and can go off on these tangents like they've been doing with world order, world economy, Iraq, and all those items that are actually not in the best interest of the United States of America. I thank you. Have a nice day. This is JD running for president. Think about that. Are we overtaxed? Is one major reason why we're in Iraq is they didn't have to worry how to pay for it? Thank you. Have a good night.